ready to really take charge of your career.
Bruh.
Like, picture yourself leading teams, managing these massive operations and, like contributing to industries that literally build the world around us.
Yeah, I like it.
That's what we're diving deep into today.
Okay.
Becoming a Quarry Manager.
Yeah.
And our roadmap for this whole journey, RoleCatcher's Career and Interview Guides, will break down what this job actually is, tackle those like tough interview questions,
Right.
and even sprinkle in like career insights to give you an edge so you can stand out from the competition, right?
What I think is really cool about this role, though, is that it's not just about, rocks and operating heavy machinery.
Yeah.
It needs a mix of, like, real technical know-how, leadership skills, and then a deep understanding of safety and all those environmental regulations.
Absolutely. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI comes in. It's like your own personal interview coach, analyzing those job descriptions, figuring out those key skills, and even giving you feedback on your answers so you can really nail that interview.
Cool.
We'll talk more about that later. But first, let's get a clear idea of what a quarry manager actually does.
All right. So imagine this. A huge open pit mine. Tons of activity, right? Excavators digging, trucks hauling, crushers grinding everything up. As the quarry manager, you're the conductor of this whole orchestra. You oversee everything, from the extracting and processing to transporting it and keeping everyone safe. You manage the budget, resources, and most importantly...
What's that?
The people, making sure the whole operation is smooth and runs efficiently.
Okay, so definitely not sitting at a desk all day.
No, not at all.
What kind of person, really thrives in an environment like that?
Someone who's comfortable in a setting that's always changing and, honestly, often challenging.
Yeah.
Think, dust, noise, those big machines all around. You have to be dedicated to safety, a natural problem solver, and someone who can lead and motivate a diverse team.
Sounds pretty demanding.
It can be.
But I bet the rewards are pretty good, too.
Oh, absolutely. It's a field where skilled professionals are in high demand, which means job stability and great salaries. Plus, you're working with cutting-edge technology and contributing to industries that are essential, for our modern world. Construction, infrastructure, everything.
Okay, so we've got a good grasp of the job itself.
Yeah.
Now let's dive into that interview process. We're going to tackle real questions taken straight from RoleCatcher's resources.
Okay.
And we'll walk you through how to craft answers that will impress.
Sounds good.
You ready to start?
Let's do it. First up, a classic. What inspired you to become a quarry manager?
Seems pretty simple on the surface, right?
Yeah.
But what are interviewers really trying to figure out here?
They're looking for more than just a basic answer. They want to get your motivations, your passion for this industry, and what drives you to be great in this specific role.
So just saying I've always liked rocks isn't going to cut it.
Definitely not. Think about what first got you interested in this field. Was it a kid's fascination with geology, a family connection maybe, a desire to lead and make a real tangible impact? Share a specific experience that made you decide to go for this career.
So let's say someone was, inspired by seeing a massive quarry in action and realized, the scale and how complex the whole operation is. How could they use that to give a good answer?
They could say something like, ever since I was a kid, I've been fascinated by those huge engineering projects,
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I actually saw a quarry in operation that I understood how big and important it really was. The planning, the machinery, the sheer amount of material they move. It was amazing. And that's when I knew I wanted to be part of this industry, leading teams and working on projects that shape the world.
That really paints a picture, huh?
Definitely.
It shows real interest, ties it back to a personal experience, and emphasizes that desire to lead.
Exactly.
Now, how can RoleCatcher's AI help someone refine an answer like that?
Well, the AI can take the job description and figure out what key skills the employer wants, and then suggest ways to tailor your response. So if the job posting is all about safety, you could mention how seeing that quarry made you realize how important responsible operations are in keeping workers safe.
Okay, so that's one question down. What's next on our deep dive into these interview questions?
Let's focus on safety, which is super important in quarry management. The question is, how do you make sure the quarry runs efficiently and safely?
This one feels a bit more technical,
Yeah.
What are interviewers really getting at here?
It's about showing you understand safety procedures and how you've actually used them effectively. They want to see that you don't just know the rules, but you've created and kept a safe environment.
So how should someone tackle this question? What are the key points to hit?
Start by highlighting any safety training you've had.
Okay.
Then talk about specific things you've implemented before, like equipment inspections, safety audits, training programs for your team.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to get specific. Mention a time you found a potential hazard and then what steps you took to fix it.
For example, let's say someone put in a new system for reporting those, like near misses,
Yeah.
How could they showcase that experience?
They could say, in my last job, I noticed near misses weren't always reported, which meant we were missing chances to spot and fix potential hazards. So I put in a new system that made reporting easier and encouraged everyone to be proactive about safety. As a result, we saw a big drop in actual accidents.
Nice. So it's about showing, not just telling.
Exactly.
It demonstrates a proactive approach to safety and that you can make a real difference.
And here's where RoleCatcher's AI can really help. It can analyze your answer, compare it to the best answers for this job, and give you ideas for improvements. Maybe it'll tell you to quantify the results, like saying a 20% reduction in accidents. Or it might suggest adding a sentence about how you worked with your team to put in this new system, highlighting your leadership.
Okay, I'm seeing how useful this AI tool can be.
Yeah.
It's like having a personal editor for your interview.
Exactly.
Now, let's move on to another super important part of being a Quarry Manager, leadership.
Right.
What kind of questions might interviewers ask to figure out how good a candidate is at leading a team?
A common one is, how do you manage and motivate your team? This is your chance to show your leadership style and your ability to create a positive and productive environment.
So it's not just about, like, barking orders and expecting people to follow them.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah.
Think about how you encourage teamwork, how you keep communication open, give constructive feedback, and recognize achievements, both individual and team. Do you delegate effectively? Do you empower your team to take ownership of their work?
It sounds like a lot of soft skills are important here.
Definitely.
What kind of example would really show those off effectively?
Let's say someone started a mentorship program within their team. They could explain how they paired up experienced employees with new hires, providing guidance, support, and chances for them to grow professionally.
Okay, so they can say something like, I really believe in creating a culture of continuous learning and development for my team. To do that, I started a mentorship program that paired experienced employees with new hires. This not only helped the new hires get up to speed faster, but it also made a more collaborative and supportive environment for everyone.
Exactly. That example highlights mentorship, teamwork, and a focus on employee development, all of which are super important for a Quarry manager.
Now, before we move on,
Sure.
I'm wondering, how might RoleCatcher's AI look at a response like this? What kind of feedback could it give?
It might suggest adding a bit about how that mentorship program improved the team's overall performance or employee satisfaction.
Okay.
Or it could say to mention how you tracked the program's success, showing that you use data to manage. It's all about tailoring your answer to the specific job and making sure you're showcasing your skills in the most impactful way possible.
Okay, we've covered 3 key questions so far: motivation, safety, and leadership. But there's still so much more to unpack. When we come back, we'll dig into even more challenging interview scenarios, uncover more career insights, and keep exploring how to use the power of RoleCatcher's AI to ace that Quarry Manager interview.
Just sounds good. Welcome back. We're really getting you ready for that Quarry Manager interview using RoleCatcher's expert guides and AI tools, kind of like our secret weapons, you know?
We've already hit on those, like, basic questions.
Yeah.
But now we got to level up and explore those scenarios that really put your problem-solving and decision-making skills to the test.
And remember, while we're going through these questions, RoleCatcher's AI is there to analyze each of your answers and give you personalized feedback to make them even stronger.
It's like having a career coach and an editor all in one.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's the first challenge on our list today?
Okay, let's say you're hit with a major setback. The interviewer says, tell me about a time you faced a significant challenge at work and how you handled it.
Ooh, this one sounds kind of heavy.
It can be.
It's not just about knowing the job, it's about showing how you deal with those unexpected things that pop up, right?
Exactly. They want to see your resilience, those problem-solving skills,
Right.
and how you learn and grow from difficult situations. It's about staying calm under pressure and finding solutions when things go sideways.
So how do you answer this without sounding negative or like you're dwelling on the problem?
The key is to focus on the solution and what you learned.
Okay.
Pick a specific challenge,
Yeah.
lay out the steps you took to fix it,
Right.
and highlight the positive outcomes.
Mm.
Did you create a new process, work with your team to get creative, and find a solution? Did you learn something valuable that you used later on?
Okay, so let's say you were managing a quarry project
Right.
and it got hit with some unexpected weather delays.
Okay, yeah,
How could you frame that experience in a good way?
you could say. We were on a really tight deadline to get this big order of crushed stone out
Uh-huh.
for a major highway project. Then we got hit with these super heavy rains that caused some major delays and put our deadline at risk. Right away, I got together with my team, we assessed the situation, and brainstormed solutions. We adjusted the work schedule, brought in more equipment to speed up the drying and processing, and kept the client updated throughout the whole thing. Even though the weather threw us a curveball, our teamwork and quick thinking let us get back on schedule and deliver that order on time.
That's a really good example. It shows you could adapt, solve problems, communicate well, and work as a team. All those things a quarry manager needs.
Exactly.
And how could RoleCatcher's AI make this answer even better?
Well, it might suggest saying how much the rain set you back, like the rain delayed us by 2 weeks,
Okay.
just to give the interviewer a better idea of the challenge.
Hey.
Or it could say to add something about how you kept your team motivated during that stressful time, showing off your leadership.
I'm really seeing how this AI can bump those answers up a notch.
Definitely.
Now, before we jump to the next question, I
Okay.
want to touch on career progression. Any tips for someone who's just starting out in this field?
Starting as a quarry operator is a common path.
Okay.
It lets you get hands-on experience with the machinery and operations, which sets you up for leadership roles later.
So it's about getting your hands dirty, literally.
Yeah, pretty much.
What's next on that career path?
From operator, you could move up to quarry technician.
Okay.
You'd be more involved in inspections, quality control, and helping with planning and scheduling. It's a step up in responsibility and technical stuff.
And then with more experience and maybe some extra training, you could get into a supervisor role.
Exactly. A quarry supervisor oversees a team of operators and technicians, makes sure everyone's following safety rules, and keeps an eye on production. It's a big step in building your leadership and management skills. And finally, with proven leadership and expertise, you're ready to take on that quarry manager position.
That's really helpful to see that clear path for growth in the industry.
Definitely.
Now let's get back to those interview questions. What other challenges might interviewers throw your way?
Let's look at a question about environmental responsibility, which is super important in quarrying today. The question is, how do you ensure compliance with environmental regulations in your operations?
This is such a big deal. Quarries can have a big impact on the environment, so showing you're committed to sustainability is essential.
Definitely. This question is your chance to showcase your knowledge of those regulations, how you're proactive about minimizing environmental impact, and how you put those sustainable practices into action.
So it's not just about following the rules, it's about going above and beyond to protect the environment, being a good steward of the land.
Exactly. Think about specific things you've done to cut down waste, conserve water, reduce dust and noise pollution, or even restore land after quarrying is finished. Did you start a recycling program? Use new dust suppression techniques. Share real examples that show you're committed to being environmentally responsible.
Okay, let's say someone was part of a project to rehabilitate a quarry site after they finished up operations.
Okay.
How could they highlight that experience?
They could say, in my previous role, we were dedicated to minimizing our environmental impact and restoring the land after we finished quarrying. I was a key part of a project to rehabilitate a quarry site, which involved reshaping the land, planting native vegetation, and creating a habitat for wildlife. This project not only brought back the ecological balance of the area, but also made things better for the surrounding community.
That's a great example. It shows you're not just following the rules, but actually contributing to environmental restoration.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, how might RoleCatcher's AI break down an answer like that? What kind of feedback could it give?
It might suggest adding details about the types of plants you used or the animals that came back to the area. Or it could suggest mentioning any awards the project got to highlight the positive impact.
I'm really starting to get how this AI can add those important details and tailor your answers to what the interviewer wants.
It's all about showcasing your skills and experience in a way that connects with the interviewer.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, but there's still more to come. When we get back, we'll tackle even more of those tough interview questions, go deeper into career advancement strategies, and keep exploring how RoleCatcher's AI can help you snag that Quarry Manager job. And we're back, ready to wrap up our deep dive into totally crushing that Quarry Manager interview.
All right, so we've explored what the role is all about, tackled those tricky questions, and even dug into some career advice.
Yeah.
Now it's time to really hone in on those high-level skills that make top candidates shine.
And of course, we're still going to use the awesome power of RoleCatcher's AI
Oh, yeah.
to polish those answers and make it impactful.
I can analyze the job descriptions,
Yeah.
identify those must-have skills,
Yeah.
and even give you suggestions to improve your answers, all based on the specific job you're going for. It's like a personalized strategy session for every single interview.
Okay, so what's the first challenge on our list as we wrap this up?
Okay, imagine you're faced with a situation where you got to make a tough decision. The interviewer asks, tell me about a time you had to make a difficult decision that affected your team or the whole operation.
Ooh, this goes way beyond just knowing the technical stuff, huh?
Definitely.
It's about showing your judgment, your leadership,
Yeah.
and how you handle those tricky situations.
Exactly. They want to see how you consider all the different factors, think about what could happen,
Right.
and ultimately how you make a decision that's best for the company, even if it's not the easiest one.
So how do you pick a good example that shows off these qualities?
Look for times when you had a real dilemma where there wasn't a clear-cut answer.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you had to balance safety with production goals, make a hard call about personnel,
Yeah.
or deal with a conflict between departments.
And it's not about showing you made like the
Yeah.
perfect decision, right?
Right.
It's about your thought process and how you got to your conclusion.
Exactly. Let's say you had to decide whether to temporarily shut down operations because of safety concerns, even though it would mess with production targets.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
How would you answer using that example?
I'd say. We had a situation where there were a bunch of small equipment malfunctions, and it started to worry us about safety. While none of the problems were super serious on their own, it felt like there was a bigger issue. I knew that if we kept going, we could be putting our team at risk, but shutting down would disrupt production and affect our deadlines. I talked to the safety officers, the engineers, and team leaders, really thinking about the risks versus the impact on operations. In the end, I decided to stop operations so we could do a thorough inspection and maintenance check. It was a hard call, but I felt it was the only way to keep our team safe and make sure our equipment was good for the long haul. The inspection actually found a few underlying problems that could have turned into big trouble. By fixing them early, we prevented potential accidents and minimized future downtime. This whole experience made it clear how important it is to prioritize safety over everything else, even when it means making tough choices.
That's a really strong example. It shows you're committed to safety, you can assess risk, and you're willing to make tough calls even when there are short-term setbacks.
And think about how RoleCatcher's AI could make it even better. It might suggest adding a bit about how you told your team about the decision, emphasizing being open and communicating clearly during a rough time. Or it might say to mention that you use data from equipment logs and safety reports to back up your decision, showing a data-driven approach to managing risk.
Wow. It's amazing how this AI helps you show off your skills in a way that's detailed and exactly what the interviewer is looking for.
Exactly. It's all about making your skills and experience resonate with the interviewer.
Okay, let's shift gears for a second and talk about professional development. How can aspiring Quarry managers show they're committed to learning and growing?
Staying current with industry trends is huge.
Yeah.
You can mention any industry publications you read, conferences you go to, professional groups you're part of, or online courses you've taken.
So it's about taking initiative and showing you're passionate about staying ahead of the game.
Exactly. And don't just list them off. Connect them to specific examples of how you use that new knowledge or those new skills in your work.
Okay, let's say someone just finished a course on advanced blasting techniques.
All right.
How could they work that into their answer?
They could say, I'm always looking for ways to learn more and get better at what I do. I recently took a course on advanced blasting techniques, which focused on how to optimize blast patterns to minimize environmental impact and improve fragmentation. I've already started using these techniques in my current job, and we've seen a real decrease in vibration levels, and our crushing process is more efficient.
That's a perfect example of how to tie professional development to real results.
Right.
Okay, so we've covered a ton in this deep dive. We explored what it means to be a quarry manager. There's some tough interview questions.
Yeah.
And shared some great career advice.
We did.
And we saw how RoleCatcher's AI can be a huge help when you're prepping for that big interview.
It really can.
Remember, getting ready for an interview is like getting ready for a show. It takes practice, strategy, and the right tools. So go out there, do your research, craft those amazing answers, and use every resource you can, including those fantastic AI tools from RoleCatcher.
And most importantly, believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You got this.
We're sure that with the right prep, you can ace that Quarry Manager interview and start a rewarding career in this exciting and essential industry. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and aim for those mountaintop goals.